Have you ever felt like no one genuinely gets at you? What on the off chance that I told you that feeling misconstrued might really be your superpower? Nowadays, we're diving into why those who regularly feel out of put, the chosen ones, not as it were confront this one-of-a-kind challenge, but to flourish sense of it. Being misconstrued isn't fair individual trial. It's a clear pointer of exceptional ability and an unmistakable way that sets you separated. We'll investigate the wonder of being misconstrued, how it's a marker of special capacities, the mental versatility it builds, and how grasping your genuine self can lead to significant victory and fulfillment. Remain tuned as we reveal the genuine control of being misconstrued and how you'll saddle it to convert your life. Have you ever felt totally alone and misjudged? Indeed, when encompassed by individuals, as in the event that your center personality, values, and points of view are on a very basic level diverse from the standard. This near-universal encounter of feeling like an untouchable is what analysts call being misconstrued. At its center, being misconstrued stems from having an unmistakable worldview, unusual gifts, or working at a distinctive level of awareness than the larger part. Your instinctual interests essentially do not adjust with social standards and desires. For the outstandingly talented, being misjudged is an unpreventable ceremony of section. The foremost uncommon inventive prodigies and paradigm-shifting masterminds in history all experienced delayed periods of mock, rejection, and incomprehension. Sometime recently their work was recognized. Vincent van Gogh may be a prime illustration. His progressive post-impressionist craftsmanship resisted traditions and flew within the confront of 19th century aesthetic standards. He lived a ruined life, encountering psychosis and depression, and only sold a modest bunch of paintings before his passing. However, nowadays, his perfect works of art, just like the Starry Night, are among the foremost popular and profitable craftsmanships ever made. Or consider Nikola Tesla, the unpredictable Serbian-American creator who fought sharply with Thomas Edison, whereas spearheading breakthroughs like the AC acceptance engine and neon lighting. His apparently odd and sporadic behavior, which stemmed from genius-level judgment skills and neurodiversity, driven him to be branded as a frantic researcher amid his life. It wasn't until decades after his passing that his incalculable innovations, revolutionizing advanced power transmission, were completely acknowledged. Being ahead of your time, having a drastically open intellect, and seeing reality through an hoisted focal point is the quintessential catalyst for incomprehension. As the proverb goes, individuals do not dismiss thoughts. They dismiss changes that influence their personalities and worldviews. This grinding between our inner truth and society's traditions is the birthing ground of visionaries over all disciplines. Whereas being misjudged can at first feel like a revile, it's really an undeniable marker that you have uncommon blessings and a level of awareness most people can't comprehend. The feeling of not fitting in or being out of step with standard considering implies you were favored with capacities that rise above the standard. Consider for a moment if everyone right away caught on you. That would mean your contemplations, gifts, and viewpoints are well inside the boundaries of ordinariness. But the most noteworthy trendsetters and imaginative minds aren't routine, they're transcendent. Their interesting way of seeing and abilities are accurately what permit them to form brilliant works that are at first misconstrued. Those who are misjudged are the rarest breed. They have pined for capacities like seeing the world through an offbeat focal point, not obliged to groupthink. They have the mental bravery to buck the tides of similarity, and they flourish in measurements of thought and inventiveness that make the masses awkward until society's awareness rises to appreciate them. You simply have to be at history's most impactful craftsmen, researchers, business visionaries, and other worldly pioneers to see this design develop. Pablo Picasso's theoretical cubist depictions were castigated by pundits as assaulting tradition before propelling a around-the-world development. Albert Einstein's speculations of relativity on a very basic level realigned our conception of space-time and material science itself, however, were considered a mass of obfuscating uncertainty early on. Avant-garde masterminds from Van Gogh to Virginia Woolf to Deepak Chopra have endured periods of being trivialized or pathologized before their extraordinary thoughts rose into the standard. Indeed, in trade, the foremost brilliant developments are invariably met with skepticism at first. Uber, Airbnb, and Netflix all confronted tides of misconception and dismissiveness before their progressive models disturbed whole businesses. The introductory misconception is truly fair, a transitory clash between drastically modern thoughts and society's consolation with the familiar. So, in the event that you frequently discover yourself being the odd one out, an exception who battles to comply or relate to the mainstream line of considering, that's not an awful thing at all. It's the most noteworthy outside certification. Merely we're favored with the next awareness and marvelous endowments the world hasn't caught up to, however. The feeling of being misunderstood is just the to begin with, step within the hero's travel for visionaries and chosen ones. Sometime recently the world opens its eyes. Whereas the feeling of being misjudged is an evident marker of having uncommon blessings, it doesn't come without an emotional fetched. The mental and passionate toll of living as a square peg in a world of circular gaps can be monstrous, particularly within the developmental a long time. As a child or youthful grown-up, not fitting in along with your peers or adjusting with societal mental traditions can make significant distance, frailty, and inward turmoil. It's a colossally painful experience to have your identity, values, and way of being reliably rejected or reduced by those around you. The near constant feeling of, there's something off base with me, or I do not have a place, can breed forlornness, uneasiness, and a need of self-worth. Many skilled visionaries hook with these wounds well into adulthood. They may end up critical antisocial people who dismiss social associations, or they overcompensate by longing for outside approval and approval to fill the internal void made by being a ceaseless pariah. At their most noticeably awful, they lose themselves by stifling their uniqueness to at long last fit in and be acknowledged. However, the chosen ones who develop most grounded are those who incline into the misjudged period as an incredible opportunity for catalytic development. Like manufacturing steel in strongly fires, the challenges of being an exception make scar tissue that creates progressive levels of strength, self-belief, and emotional fortitude within the soul. By standing firm in their truth in spite of open invalidation, they develop an unwavering sense of self-trust. They hone aptitudes like self-awareness, judgment, and consolation with planting seeds for long-term visions that daring souls can't understand. And they create the grit and assurance to persist through arduous journeys ahead that would break those of routine awareness. In numerous ways, the self-contradicting mental turmoil of being misunderstood is the testing ground that isolates hypothetical visionaries from those competent of making real-world affect. Those who enter the blazes and do not get devoured rise with amazing passionate resiliency. They turn their torment into unbreakable character qualities. Their capacity to thrive despite restriction is what engages them to eventually alter the world. In the event that you'll be able to withstand the mental and emotional trials of being misjudged, there's an extraordinary opportunity anticipating you to step into your control as one of the rare chosen ones whose unique endowments can create extraordinary effect. The primary step is to completely grasp your lovely distinction as a source of strength instead of lack. Instead of bending yourself to fit into society's box, select to celebrate how you were magnificently made to transcend boundaries. Reframe being an untouchable as a signifier of your tip-top status in the world. You basically work at a higher level that most can't, however, comprehend. Once you make this inner shift, it's paramount to discover your tribe of individual travelers and rebel scholars who recognize and winner your uncommon abilities. Whether these are mentors, peers, accomplices, or colleagues, having at slightest a little community who naturally gets you gives invaluable validation and food. These are the individuals who will accept in you when the world is still catching up. A few of history's most prolific visionaries found their tribes this way: the avant-garde specialists, scholars, and creatives who assembled in bohemian enclaves like 1920s Paris or 1960s Greenwich Town. The solitary wolves like Steve Employments or Elon Musk who amassed virtuoso groups and co-creators adjusted with their brave dreams. Or famous duos like John Lennon and Yoko Ono, two uncompromising souls who shaped an unbreakable productive association. With this enabling self-concept and strong crew, you'll be balanced to at last unleash those momentous gifts and points of view that set you separated. The diagram is as of now interior you, the craftsman who sees excellence others are blinded to, the business person who sees an underestimated specialty, the researcher who dares to design an entire modern worldview. By staying true to that unmistakable internal voice, you've got the control to take off an permanent imaginative, intellectual, or entrepreneurial stamp on the world. History's canon of symbols offers brilliant case considers. In spite of unbelievable hardship and rejection, Frida Kahlo gave Mexico one of its most searing self-portraits through her majestic craftsmanship. Mahatma Gandhi's immovable commitment to peacefulness permitted him to calmly dismantle the British domain in India. J.K. Rowling endured through destitution and self-doubt to convey the Harry Potter arrangement that brought boundless enchantment to the world. After you halt censoring yourself and work from your deepest authenticity, no pundits or misfortunes can ultimately derail you. You'll create a creative teach and sense of certainty that draws in evangelists and assets. Your work will act as a magnet, pulling the culture to you. What was once derided soon becomes a world-altering transformation. Whereas thriving as a chosen one requires fortitude, the most impactful visionaries do not survive periods of being misjudged. They proactively turn that grinding into rocket fuel to quicken their mission. The primary step is to develop a development mentality that treats each rejection, dismissal, or criticism as information to sharpen your vision instead of sources of discouragement. See incomprehension from others not as invalidation, but basically as criticism that you must continue innovating until the world's awareness expands. Use that input circle of misconception as a compass, honing your informing and manifestations to, in the long run, resound more capably. This iterative handle isolates revolutionary ideas that eventually adhere from purposeless disobedience. The people and perspectives that repel or annoy you the foremost can uncover your greatest day's spots to advance. Additionally, perceive society's disappointment to immediately understand you as a sifting instrument, drawing in, as it were, those implied to be part of your movement. Stay profoundly committed to your authentic expression, and the correct supporters, accomplices, and supporters will discover their way to your campfire over time. As a misconstrued visionary, you're playing the long diversion, planting seeds for future harvests and drawing in the genuine devotees who get it. It's at that point pivotal to channel the eager drive that comes from being ahead of your time into prolific yield and creation. Incredible craftsmen like Van Gogh utilized misconception and rejection to fuel their productivity rather than debilitation. In spite of battling to urge showcased, he made an unprecedented 2,100 works of art amid his tragically brief career. Business visionaries who've beaten the odds connected savage anti-complacency to solve pent-up demand society couldn't, however, express. With centered discipline, leverage the blessing of having few distractions. As somebody on the periphery, you can pith that untouchable personality into unparalleled drive, inventiveness, and coarseness. Few can match because you're unhampered from conforming to transitory patterns. At last, center less on influencing the world to acknowledge your thoughts and put vitality into execution. Let your troublesome manifestations, developments, and affect be the persuading that cuts through society's inactivity. Ultimately, those striking sufficient to saddle misconception, as inspiration ended up relentless powers whose influence is undeniable in shaping the future ahead. We've seen today how being misunderstood isn't an obstruction, but a guide directing the chosen ones to exceptional accomplishments. From verifiable icons to today's trailblazers, embracing what sets you apart is your first step toward enormity. Presently, I want to listen from you. Turn the comments section into our own tribe of the misconstrued. Share how your one-of-a-kind way has molded your success. And on the off chance that you're ready to turn feeling diverse into your superpower, hit that like button as if it's the entryway to your unused travel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss out on any of our engaging substance. Much obliged for observing, and keep thriving on your distinct way.